Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at a comparison between these two sneakers. It is the Travis Scott Air Force One, the latest colorway. I'm just doing a comparison between a real and a fake pair. Can you tell just by looking at the box, which one do you think is the real and which one do you think is the fake? I'll give you 2 seconds to decide. So the real one is actually this one here, the larger box. So there are a number of differences that you can spot straight away just from the box. So firstly, the actual color of the two boxes. On the real one, it's more of a yellow, and the actual color of it seems sort of thicker, if you know what I mean. On the fake box, you can actually almost see the cardboard through the paint. It seems really thin. The size differencing is also pretty drastic, as you can see there. These are both the same size sneaker, and on the fake pair you can see the box is much smaller than on the real pair. If you look at all angles, you can see differences all over the box. This is because of the actual size of the box. So obviously the print is too large in certain places. You can tell differences in the size of the actual face and everything like that. On the side of the box here, you can see the graphic on the side of the box. If you actually run your hands over it, on the authentic box, it stands out. You can actually feel it when you're rubbing your hand over it. If you go to the replica box and rub your hands over it, it's completely flush with the box. You can't even feel there's a graphic there if you're not looking. This is the same with the end of the box. At the face, you can feel the graphic on the authentic box. On the replica box, it's just like a printed on. You can't feel it at all, it's not raised above the end of the box. If we turn it around to the record label, you can see a clear difference right there. On the replica box, the gap or the opening in the box, which reveals the plastic, is much smaller than on the retail one. So that's a clear difference there. In terms of the label on the side, I will give you a close-up on this. You can see there are differences in font and other things like that, and sizing and spacing issues as well. However, they haven't done too bad a job of actually replicating the sticker. Also, it must be noted that the actual Nike logo on the top of the box is a different color compared to the replica box. It's a much darker blue on the replica box compared to that of the retail. So we'll now open these up and do a comparison between the shoes themselves. So once again, you can see a clear difference here. On the retail pair, the record label symbol is printed a numerous amount of times, and it's a dark print, and there's also a laminated feel to the paper. Whereas on the replica one, it's printed much less on the paper than on the retail one. The paper's also a lot thinner, it feels a bit more flimsy. So the first thing I noticed straight out of the box is on the retail pair, which is here, both lace covers come attached to the top of the sneaker. Whereas on the replica pair, the lace covers come separate to the actual sneaker themselves. They come without the lace cover on top. These also do actually come with a StockX tag. Don't know why they do that, and a StockX sticker. Like I said before, the first noticeable difference is actually the lace cover. On the replica pair, it doesn't come attached, but on the retail pair, it was attached straight out the box. This retail pair is from End Clothing directly, so it is 100% authentic, and this replica pair is just from a replica seller in China. So firstly, just by looking at it, they're pretty good. There isn't that much differences just looking at them from afar. Just quickly glancing at them, there aren't too many differences there. However, I'm sure we will look closer and see some differences as we get into it. So in terms of the lace cover differences, there isn't actually too much to go for. But I will give you a close-up of this, but at the top here, at the tips, you can see an almost plastic cover that covers just the tips. On the replica pair, this is much thicker than on the retail pair, so that's a clear difference there. But other than that, they've pretty much got the color spot on and everything else is correct. The slight details of the lettering on the bottom of the zip is slightly different, but this would be almost impossible to tell unless you had the sneakers in hand for comparison. Stitching is all correct all over, and the corduroy is actually pretty good in comparison with each other. The actual zip sizing is correct as well. There seems to be no errors there. I do notice, however, on the actual zip buckle, there are 2 dots on the replica pair. When comparing this to the retail pair, there are no dots on either side of the actual zipper. So throughout this video, I'm going to keep the zip ties on the retail pair, just so that you can see a clear difference, because I know it can get kind of confusing when you're looking at a replica pair and a retail pair side by side, and when I'm trying to talk about them. So we'll try and keep the zip ties on the retail pair, just so you can see a clear difference straight away. So a noticeable difference that I've seen is actually on the toe box of both pairs. On the suede going around the toe box is a much rougher suede on the retail pair compared to the replica. I'll give you a close-up of this, but on the retail pair, it's much longer than it is on the replica pair. Another difference that I've noticed is the actual shape of the sneaker itself. If you look at the whole sneaker from the side, you can see it is actually cut differently to on a retail pair. So here around the ankle area, it's much shorter on the replica pair than on the retail. So as you can see, it's much shorter here, therefore the pattern all over the sneaker is slightly different. This is because of the cut of the materials is slightly different. If we turn it round to the heel area of the replica and the retail, I will also give you a close-up of this. You can see the replica pair, the fuzzy material at the heel is much longer than on the retail, and also looks a bit messy compared to the retail. I assume this will happen with retail pairs over time as you wear them and the material kind of comes loose, but straight away out the box, the replica pair has a much looser material on the back. If we look at the inner swoosh here, the camo swoosh, there is a difference to be noted, but it can only be spotted in certain lightings. So the stitching that goes on the inner swoosh of the retail pair is a black color. This will be really hard to see, I'm sorry. But on the replica pair, it is almost a navy color on the swoosh on the inside. So that's one difference to notice. Another thing that I've noticed is on the replica pair, it has some loose stitching just coming out here, which is red. I'm not sure why that's there, it's just probably from the manufacturing of the fake pairs. But on the retail pair, it's completely clean all the way around. There's no glue stains, no loose stitching, or anything like that. I know Nike QCs can be pretty bad, but in terms of this pair that I've received, there seems to be no flaws at all. Looking at the right side of each pair, you can see here where it says records on the pattern. On a retail pair, this is pretty much almost 90% of the time never covered. The only thing that's covered is a tiny bit of the S in some certain sizes of retail pairs. But on the same size pair, you can see the S is covered on the records. This normally doesn't happen on a size 9. There can be some QC issues. On most retail pairs, the records text will be completely untouched, and on replica pairs, it normally seems to be touched every time. If we're looking at the tongue on both sneakers, you can see that the R next to the Nike symbol is much more cleanly printed on the retail pair compared to the replica pair. But other than that, there's pretty much no difference between the label, maybe slight sizing differences between the text, but other than that, it's very well done by the replica pair. Looking at the actual suede color underneath the lace cover, you can see that the suede is slightly different color. On the retail pair, it is slightly lighter than on the replica pair. However, if you wear the lace cover, this will be impossible to see. But without it, this could be a clear difference, but obviously with wear and depending on the weather, this will change. So that's another thing that will be very hard to tell the difference of unless you have 2 dead stock pairs in hand like I do here. One thing I have noticed is on the pin on the heel. On the retail pair, I try and spin it and it doesn't move at all, whereas on the replica pair, you can spin the pin all the way around so that the lettering is actually the wrong way up. In terms of the spare laces that come with it, you can see a clear difference right there. The laces on the replica pair are much more white and creamy compared to on a retail pair where they seem to be like a dirty cream kind of colour. So as you can see, there are clear differences right there. Whereas the other colour, once again, the replica pair has got this completely wrong. They've gone for a more navy kind of colour compared to this on the retail pair, which is much darker. If we turn it back to the heel again and look at the text on both pairs, you can see that the air spacing on the replica pair is much wider compared to that of a retail pair. I know this will be pretty hard to see. On the retail pair, around the sole where the stitching is, it is a much bolder green on the retail pair when you compare it to the replica pair. On the replica pair, it's a much more subtle light green, which almost kind of like merges in with the sole, whereas it stands out quite a lot more on the retail pair. If we're looking at the inside of the shoe, and you can see the pattern here on the green section, you can see that the paint is actually a thinner coating than that of the retail pair. On the retail pair, it's almost such a thick coat, it has no gaps or spaces in between it, whereas on the retail one, you can see the actual pattern of the material below coming through. This is the same with the outer pattern, just in a different color. However, in comparison to that, the text here on the light teal kind of color, the letters are printed on very cleanly on the retail pair, whereas on the replica pair, the paint is very thin and each letter is not distinctly done. If you take out both insoles like I just did, you can see on the retail pair there are loose stitchings all over the inside. Not sure why they've done this, but I can also confirm these do occur on the replica pair. Hopefully you can see that too. So they're almost identical on the inside. Stitching is exactly the same color and evenly spaced all the way around. The retail pair, the inner stitching, the red inner stitching, is actually a lot more messy than that of the replica pair. The replica pair has done a very tidy job of this. So I don't actually think you're meant to take the insole out because it's got a lot of stickiness on it. Oh, there's a difference there. The retail pair is incredibly sticky, whereas the replica one is not sticky at all. This is sticking to everything. On the replica pair, you can see it has text towards the forefoot, whereas on the retail pair, this does not occur. The retail pair also has a sticker on it, because it's come directly from a retailer, whereas the replica does not have this. If we look at the pattern on the insole, you can see there are clear differences here. If we look towards the toe, look at the section on the replica pair, it's green for a large amount of space, whereas on the retail one, there's only a tiny amount of green at the toe, and other than that, the pattern is positioned incorrectly. I don't know if this changes depending on size, but these are both a size 9 UK, and this is the pattern difference. You can also see a difference between the font, positioning, and the color of the Nike Air swoosh text. If you can see that at the heel, but the key difference is how sticky it is. This one's really sticky. See? Big difference there. When looking at the Air text on the sole, you can see differences here. I'm going to give you a close-up of this as well, but you can see a difference in sizing and also in the space between each letter. On early pairs of fakes, the heel strap that goes around the heel here was much too thin and placed a lot higher on the replica pairs. However, they have corrected this, but as you can see, there still are slight differences, but I know this can vary between retail pairs as well. If we look at the cardboard shoe trees that come in both shoes, you can see that they're different here. On the replica pair, the actual markings on it are imprinted a lot cleaner, whereas on the retail pair, you can see that they're almost barely printed on at all. There also seems to be differences between the leather of both toe boxes. On the retail pair, it seems a lot softer and thinner compared to the replica pair, which is a bit thicker and sturdier than that on the authentic pair on my right side here. On the outer swoosh of both pairs, you can see that there are slight differences between it. The outer swoosh on the retail pair seems to almost have a messier cut style to the swoosh. It doesn't seem like it's cleanly done. It seems like it's done with scissors. I kind of like this look that Travis went for. Whereas on the replica one, it seems just like a smooth swoosh all the way around. Doesn't seem to be any kind of like angles to it. Whereas on the retail one, you can see there are slight angles around the swoosh here. This was just a short comparison between a replica pair and a retail pair. I hope you have enjoyed it. I will give you some detailed shots of both just to end it off, but hopefully it's given you some information when trying to buy an authentic pair. This is like the second batch of replicas that's come out, and already it's scary how close they are to a retail pair. And I know from probably the distance right there that you are from the screen, you probably can't tell the difference straight away. It must take a much detailed look to see if you're actually buying an authentic pair. So hopefully this has helped you if you're trying to buy an authentic pair. If not, I tried. But thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. It really does help and helps me do videos just like this to help you guys out. The test will be up on Instagram as well, so if you want to check that out. But thank you very much for watching and have a great day.